Hello everyone, Stephanie Kawaja here, and we're back for another episode and video. Today we're going to be going over the science behind yo-yo dieting and how to finally break the cycle. So before we actually get into the video, what I first just really want you to know is that if you have been struggling with yo-yo dieting or just trying diets, start and stop, you constantly feel like you have food and fitness on your mind, what I'm about to share is going to change the way you see your relationship with food and your fitness journey. So you know that cycle, right? Where you feel like super motivated, you start a new diet, you stick to it perfectly for a while, and then you find yourself right back where you started. Maybe you've lost some weight, maybe you gain it all back, or you just don't see a progress, but you're constantly going up and down. So I've been there. So many of us have been there. And today I am going to share something that is absolutely going to blow your mind. And it blew my mind when I first learned about it. And this is the actual science behind why this happens. So first, I guess just sharing a little bit more of a personal story if you're new here. A few years ago, I was very trapped in this endless cycle. I'd start Monday off with perfect meals. I would measure everything that I eat, try to eat clean, whatever, whatever that meant. And then by Wednesday, I would be really proud of myself for sticking to it. Probably would still have food on my mind all the time. But then Friday would come and I'd find myself like ravaging through the kitchen. If I went to a social event, I would just eat everything in sight. Food was always on my mind. I would start bringing food in my room, secretly eating food. And I just felt like so much shame and guilt and just felt really trapped and also out of control. And so what everything changed for me was actually when I started to educate myself around dieting and food and actually became certified in a personal trainer, nutritionist, and actually realized there was a lot that I thought that was wrong with me when in reality there wasn't. And learning what I know now is like, it wasn't about a lack of willpower. It wasn't about being weak. It was actually about biology, like real measurable changes that happen in our bodies when we restrict our food intake. And so I just wanted to take a moment to actually explain what the research has shown, what happens to our bodies when we significantly reduce calories. So there are two key hormones that play a major role. There's ghrelin, which signals hunger. This increases when we're dieting or we're in a calorie deficit. And leptin, which normally helps us feel satisfied. This decreases when we're in a calorie deficit. So this is your body's natural survival mechanism at work. So if you think about it, if food was scarce and we were just, in our ancestral world or, back in the day or even now, if you, have food that is scarce, like these changes would actually help keep you alive. And so something fascinating that actually happens to your body, hunger and fullness signals, is that you actually have an entire network of neurons in your digestive system. It's called our second brain. And so this network communicates constantly with our actual brain about your hunger, your fullness, and even your mood. And so with that being said, like if you can just think back to time, have you ever remembered a time where you felt really full after eating like a steak and potatoes versus, having potato chips? For sure, right? There's a real biological reason for this because different foods trigger different fullness signals in your body. So if we go over the main ones, so there's really four. So there's protein, which is a main macronutrient. It activates specific hormones that help with satiety. There's fiber, which is a type of carbohydrate. It actually slows down our digestion and it helps you feel full longer. There's fats that actually trigger the release of satisfaction hormones. And then there's also, when you think of simple carbs digest a lot faster, which is why you might feel hungry soon after eating them versus having something like more complex carbs. So for me, a really big switch, which was actually pretty wild, is I used to have oats every single day, but they were very processed oats. They were the ones that were like quick oats, stripped of all their nutrients, stripped of all their fiber. I'd have this big, massive bowl of oats with some protein powder. And I was hungry like an hour later. I was constantly thinking about food. I was like, why am I so starving right now? And when I when I understand complex carbs and just understood fats, I didn't have any fat in my meal. There was no fiber in that meal. Of course I was hungry, even though I was eating this massive bowl of oats and I was hitting a very large calorie number, which what I thought was helpful, I was still hungry. And so this made so much sense to me. So I used to eat another thing like low fat yogurt and also be hungry an hour later. So when I include things like protein and healthy fats and things that actually are incorporated into this fullness monitoring, this helps so much. It helps send the signals to my brain that I'm also full. So what we also want to talk about, I want to talk about some diet myths that might be holding you back as well, because they definitely were holding me back when I first started. So, for example, myth number one, eating after 8 p.m. makes you gain weight. In reality, there's no amount of time, whether it's in the morning, whether it's late at night, it really does not matter what time you eat. If you are in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. And the reason why people say that eating after 8 p.m. makes you gain weight is because often after eating 8 p.m. is when most of us will eat a lot. And so simply creating that rule or restriction for yourself to stop eating after 8 p.m., that is what helps you lose weight, because you are in a calorie deficit or because you're no longer eating that extra food. And so really, when we think about that myth really comes down to, it works because it helps you be in a calorie deficit, not because of the specific time frame allocated to it. Myth number two, you need to detox your body. Like, here's the thing. Your liver and your kidneys are natural detox experts. So no juice cleanse or tea can do a better job than your own organs. So what's actually going to help supporting your body's natural processes by staying hydrated, getting enough sleep, eating a variety of nutrients, and moving your body in ways that feel good. So I remember I was super shocked when I learned this, because I spent a lot of money on detox products and detox teas and juice cleanses. And I sort of, in the back of my head, probably knew at the time that, okay, this is just a really quick fix, but I wanted fast results. And the problem was I had to do it over and over again until I realized this is just not for me. I'm getting short-term results. I'm miserable. This journey sucks. There must be a way to do this more long-term. And so how do you actually use this knowledge practically? We can talk about, building meals that are actually going to satisfy you instead of just counting calories. So first of all, let's think about protein sources. Really big key thing is aiming for 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. One thing I want to mention, and a lot of my clients actually don't know this before working with me, so if you know this, amazing. If not, then here you're learning something else. But the amount of weight of what you're weighing on a scale, so if you weigh 100 grams of chicken, that does not mean you are eating 100 grams of protein. That means you're eating 100 grams in weight of chicken, and you're probably eating around 20 grams of protein, depending on the leanness of the chicken. So that's just a quick little note for you guys. But thinking of protein sources, one really easy way to track calories without actually tracking calories is using our hands. So one palm-sized portion, the thickness of our palm, is about 25 grams of protein. So you can have one palm-sized portion of chicken per meal. If you have 5 meals a day, you're going to hit 120 grams of protein minimum. Other amazing protein sources, lean meats, ground beef, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, and then there's, of course, plant-based combinations like rice and beans. Number two, fiber-rich foods. So thinking about colorful vegetables, whole grains, legumes, fruits with skin on. And the one thing I'll say about whole grains is some people can digest different, like whole grains, like for example, whole brown rice. It's harder to digest than white rice. So for some people, of course, like having white rice is going to be better. So just keeping that in mind. And then finally, healthy fats. So things like avocado, olive oil, butter, fatty fish. Those are all amazing sources of healthy fats. So what we can do now is just actually help you give practical examples on how to satisfy yourself. Again, everyone is going to be different. No matter what, you don't need to copy these meals, but I'm just giving you some examples on what you can actually eat to have a satisfying breakfast to help manage those ghrelin and leptin levels when you are in a calorie deficit. So number one, old-fashioned oats, or actually steel-cut oats would be even better, because steel-cut oats have a ton of fiber. Greek yogurt, which has a lot of protein and healthy fats. Berries has a lot of fiber and nutrients. Nuts have healthy fats and protein. Should not be your main protein source, but they do have protein. And these are all really awesome examples of what you can do for a really great breakfast in the morning, just to fill you up and start your day off really right. So I know what you might be thinking. You might be like, Steph, this all sounds really great, but how do I actually do this? How do I actually stop thinking about food all the time? How do I actually still lose weight and not feel stressed about what to eat? You just gave me one breakfast idea. Like, I get it. And that's actually why I created the Diet Breakup Club. So after myself going through this for years and years and seeing so many women struggle with their relationship with food and this constant yo-yo cycle, I wanted to create a step-by-step approach to building a peaceful relationship with food. And so in the program, it's a 4-module course, and we actually talk about everything on how to fuel yourself, on how to stop overeating, stop stress eating, on how to understand, mindful eating habits, meal times, what to actually eat, so that you can actually get rid of bye to all of that food noise that you have. And so you can either use that to lose fat in the process or just set you up for a really, really great, easy, and effortless fat loss journey when you are ready to. Because there's one thing that I regret that I did not do sooner, and that is focus on my relationship with food first. I cannot tell you how many times I tried to start a different diet and my body just was not ready for it. I was under so much stress, so much cortisol, so much restriction and binging that just simply doing that over and over again was not going to get me anywhere other than continue just feel more miserable. And so the best decision I ever made for myself was actually taking a step back, sitting in my body, and before focusing on changing my body, focusing on changing my inner self and my relationship with food. And what that did was that set me up for so much success to be able to lose weight without being on a diet. I lost 10 pounds within 3 months without being on a diet. I've been able to now go back to macro counting, focus on cuts and building muscle, losing body fat without the food noise, without it stressing me out, and actually seeing those results. And that's what I help my clients do. So whether you're in the program or not, or want to join the Diet Breakup Club, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to be your cheerleader either way. And here are just some practical tips so that you can start today. So number one, start tuning into your hunger and fullness signals. Before you eat, ask yourself, am I actually hungry? Scale of 1 to 10, how hungry am I? When you're eating, check in. Am I still enjoying this or not? Number two, keep snacks on hand. So I always used to avoid, just having snacks that wouldn't fill me up from a balancing standpoint. And so what I always like to do is I never went more than like 2 or 3 hours between meals. And I'd always have a snack with protein, fat, and carbohydrates in some form, just so that I know I was going to be full and satisfied and I wasn't going to be thinking about when my next meal was going to be. Number three, pay attention to really how different foods make you feel. So personally for me, while I really, really liked rice, eating brown rice sometimes actually just didn't sit well with me. And so I decided to eat more white rice. So just a reminder, there's no one food that's going to make you gain weight. And no matter how many times you hear rice is bad or white rice is bad or whatever it is, everything in moderation. And it all comes down to you just actually enjoying the journey. And if you want to stick to it, you have to be able to enjoy it. And finally, just practice self-compassion when you face challenges. Just remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. This is a journey. It is not a race. And you focusing on your relationship with food first is going to give you massive transformation and be so worth it in the long run. So I'm so thankful that you're here. I hope this was helpful. Drop a comment below. You can follow me on Instagram at Steph if you're not already. And if you watch this live, you're already there. But otherwise, I'm so excited for you. I can't wait for what's next for you. And if you have any questions, just like I said, reach out and we'll get them to you, and we'll see you in the next episode or video.